How did you kind of have the courage to bodybuild? Like, because a lot of times, if I feel like with some of these sports, like I've always been a huge pro wrestling fan, and when I was a pro wrestler, I felt like I always had to defend it. When I got into powerlifting, it was kind of the same thing. It's like this niche thing, especially back when I was doing it. Like no one cared about it. It wasn't soccer, it wasn't football, it wasn't baseball, it wasn't any of the big sports, and it wasn't a popular big thing. Bodybuilding's always looked at as being weird. You're carrying around your Tupperware. One moment you're super shredded and people can see veins in your face, and the next moment you're fat and bloated, and people are like, I thought you were a bodybuilder. Why? So how did you deal with like a lot of the criticism? Because back when you started, there was even less people involved in fitness.
Right. You know, I never really looked very sloppy in the off season. I was always like a freaky looking like off season bodybuilder. So. And I think I must have loved the attention, you know, walking through the shopping malls and stuff like that in the supermarket with my tank top and shorts on at, 300 pounds. And people were like, holy shit. My ex at the time, she used to walk behind. She would always walk like 3 steps behind me and listen to what people were saying. I walked with blinders. I didn't care what anyone said. And, you always get those guys to go steroids, and then she'd be like, fuck you. And she'd start arguing with them. I'm like, would you just leave these idiots alone? I said, you're going to get me into fights with people now, over this. Just, I don't care what people think, but I just never worried. My whole life, really, I've never really worried about what other people think about me. I just kind of do what I love, and what I like and what I'm kind of passionate about. I guess it's like the artist in me, as long as it gives me pleasure, I really don't care what anyone else thinks. There are a couple people that irritate me here and there along the way, but, now with social media, you can kind of go online and you call them out, So I don't think we owe anyone an explanation. I think if you want to, when back in the 90s, bodybuilding, like you said, wasn't maybe that widely acceptable, but people kind of were interested about it because every person out there wants to change the way they look. Okay. Especially if they're not in shape. And bodybuilders are the greatest magicians of all time when it comes to changing their physiques, right? So a lot of the regular people, even though they may not want to look like us bodybuilders, they want to look different and they want to get lean. And so I found that a lot of average people were coming to me for advice. And, like you said, they would say, well, I don't want to look like you, but, I definitely want to lose body fat and my blood work is off and this and that. And so that I really kind of embraced that right from the early part of my bodybuilding career, giving people advice. And I did it for free. There was no charging. I used to go on these forums and answer questions. And I had tons of people always in and out of my house, asking me what the latest and greatest, protein powders are and, how I should use them and, what they should use for fat burners and how they should diet. And so I was dieting people, before there was even diet guru coaches, I was just doing it for my friends and the guys in the gym just because they gave me pleasure. We'd go to the shows together. I'd help them, I'd be backstage oiling them up and tanning them and all that stuff. And so for me, it was always like an information thing. So I think people respected me in the sense that, hey, that guy is a big freak, but he's also he's also really smart. And so I kind of got that, created that little niche for myself.